Am I the asshole, telling my parents to pay me back my college tuition if they want a relationship? I was raised by parents who believed, religiously and just culturally, in rigid gender roles. Dad should work, mom should stay home with the kids. I'm the only girl and have 3 brothers. Because of their expectation I'd stay home with kids, they never valued my education, educational achievements or emphasized things beyond domestic skills. I'm the second youngest. By the time I was in high school, my 2 older brothers had gone to the college of their choice, with my parents fully covering tuition, books, an off-campus apartment and other living expenses. They eventually did the same for my younger brother. I was told I wasn't allowed to apply for college. I did so in secret and got accepted with a partial scholarship. I didn't tell them I was moving out until a week before I left, with essentially nothing but what a few friends gave to me that their parents bought them for college. I took engineering, and had to work, take on debt and struggle. Not the asshole. Hi from another engineer from a family filled with rage that she has all the talent that the boy was never up to. As far as I can see, your answer to them was perfect. It was very fair, and if they have fixed their appalling bigotry issues, they would be falling all over themselves begging you to take the money. Since they clearly have not fixed their bigotry, you don't want them around your child. Never, ever poison children by allowing bigots in their presence. No exceptions. That includes your bigoted brothers. Edited to add, I have a bachelor's, master's, and doctorate all in engineering. You have no idea how angry this makes them. Hopefully you will too and we can all watch the bigots faint from sheer rage together. Bwah ha 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 ha. Exactly, they aren't sorry for how they treated OP, they just want to be able to have access to their grandkid. So they can abuse it if it's a girl and turn it into a bigot no matter what. I'm also betting they want to try and convince OP to give up on her silly dreams to be a stay-at-home mom and we're probably expecting to be welcomed with open arms and thanked for giving her the necessary skills needed to be a good mom. Aren't you glad we made you learn all the woman skills? Now you can properly take care of your baby at home and quit your job like you're supposed to. That is a really good take. I had decided it was probably grandkid access but to pressure her to be single mom stay at home. Yeah, I can see them doing that. Depending on how much money they have and how it affects them. Money doesn't really buy forgiveness, though I think it was an excellent thing to say. Basically, if you are sorry, make the things you are sorry for right, and if that's just out of the question then they don't really want to make amends. Skeptical. I'm betting it's more like the parents are trying to save face. If OP has a child and her parents aren't allowed to see it, people are going to ask why. OP's parents are trying to get her to drop it so they don't have to answer uncomfortable questions about why OP doesn't speak to them. Edit, and I think OP is brilliant to suggest that they pay her back in order for them to perpetuate an image they don't deserve. You are absolutely right. This is bound to be a part of it. People this committed to rigid gender roles would die of shame if their church found out that OP wants nothing to do with them, won't let them see their grandchild. They're trying to get back into her good graces so they can bring the grandbaby to their toxic church. The money OP can put aside for her kids' education. Yep, this was my first thought. They're probably thinking that since OP is pregnant she's finally come to her senses, and will now do the proper thing. When she doesn't, they'll be appalled. Or they are worried about saving their grandkids' souls. Or do nothing but judge and demean her if she has her child in daycare instead of quitting her silly career and staying home to raise her child. OP's parents and brothers are assholes. Easy for brothers to say whatever. They didn't take on any debt. Will all of them kick in for 1/4 of her debt to balance things out a little? Not likely. It's always so strange yet understandable to me how those that got everything often can't see how unfair the situation was. I was honestly the favored child and I always tried to at least do something small for my brother because I understood it wasn't fair or right. I was a kid and understood this, yet gout ass adults out here calling OP an asshole because she's just asking to have the same deal they got. Reminds me of a comic where they show one person growing in poverty and the other in wealth. Poverty wanted to be a chef when they grew up and you see their life as they struggle through everything. It'd been a while since I've seen it, but I think they moved to the big city only to get rejected from every place they apply at. They end up as a server at a fancy party and that's where it ends for them. But the wealthy person's story shows how his dad told him he had a friend at this office and got him an interview. Guy was nervous and didn't know he would get it, but in the end did, obviously. Then we see how, yes, he works hard, but all of it is really him already having a name out there because of his dad. Lots of older men at parties kissing up to him, pawing off his work to those below them and such. And at the end we see him grab a snack from a passing server as he talks about how poor people are only poor because they don't work as hard as we do, and the server he grabbed the snack from was the person we saw grow in poverty. I'm not trying to diminish his struggle. I'm sure he had to go through his own things, but dismissive language like that is harmful and ignorant. Also, they probably expects OP to take care of them when they get old. These parents can go straight to the worst rated nursing home I could find if they were mine. Edit, they can go beg their sons to take care of them. Not the asshole in this writer Bo that you have filled your duty as a woman they want you in their lives. My guess is if you had they would be nagging you to quit your job and be a good little housewife. They don't want a relationship with her, just her uterus and uterine accessories. Uterine accessories is the single best description of kids I've ever seen in my life. Or the sweet sweet money OP is probably making as an engineer. I've been wondering about that. Resources are for men, in their view, and daughters are for being servants. Therefore, they probably think, her earnings exist for the purpose of taking care of them while her brothers do not. If they ever do ask OP for money, I suggest her only response should be sending them an itemized invoice for the cost of her college education. Exactly this. Resources are for men and daughters are for being servants. The daughter is supposed to take care of the parents when they are no longer able to live independently. Of course her brothers are calling her immature, they don't want to be parent caretakers. Edited to add, not the asshole. Or they expect her to adopt the traditional role of caring for them in their old age. Hard pass. If she's the second youngest it stands to reason they are getting up there. And of course the boys have their own families to provide for. /s. Pretty rich of her brothers to accuse her of being immature and hurtful when the parents literally tried to stop her from accessing higher education. I think that's fucking abusive. Absolutely agree. Not the asshole. And I really love this and I think more people should say this in response to non-apology apologies, and you can tell that they really weren't sorry by their non-response. It's hard to move forward when you're stuck in that ditch you dug 10 plus years ago. It might be interesting if OP gave her parents a choice in regards to restarting a relationship, pay her the $100,000, or elaborate and explain what they're not sorry about. It might be the fastest anyone ever got together $100,000. It sounds to me like that's exactly the choice OP gave them, and they couldn't follow through on either option. Because of course the father still doesn't see his actions as wrong. It's actually possible the mom gets it, but isn't allowed to contradict the father in public. Hence the bawling started when she heard the conditions and realized that the father would refuse, leaving her with no options. Also, now that OP is married and pregnant they think she'll quit working and follow the rules. They'll be even more pissed when, I'm assuming, OP continues her career after giving birth. Here's the thing, I think they see OP as a success now since she's married and expecting. I think they probably see her as fulfilling her womanly duties. That's why they want to reconnect now. OP, don't allow them back into your life without a sincere apology on their end and the money for your education. This will almost certainly never happen, though. Also, tell your brothers to butt off. They got a huge advantage in life that you didn't get. Not the asshole. The brothers piss me off almost more than the parents do. It's so fucking easy to just tell OP she's being immature and hurtful when they never had to deal with the shit she did. They were handed every advantage in life while their sister was left to struggle through on her own. Doesn't seem like they lifted a finger to help her either. Dump the whole family. What kind of whack-ass siblings don't side with their other siblings? My siblings and I have our differences but we always have each other's backs. That's what that kind of parenting does to kids, they turn into what they were taught their whole lives and now when they have kids, the daughters will face the same challenges as OP and another generation of kids and their family will become bigoted. Exactly. These boys were raised to view women as lesser. And the parents have used these children as pawns, pitting them against each other. God only knows what fucking bullshit was said about OP behind her back all those years she was gone. Obviously the brothers weren't saying now dad/mom, I know you don't agree but I think what sis is doing is brave and I'm proud of her. $20 says they all sat around and trashed her for being hurtful and ungrateful and immature. I want to dick punch all of them. I feel very sorry for OP's mom, she is clearly a straight up doormat. I'm betting they were grousing that their mother shouldn't have to work so hard doing all their cooking, cleaning, laundry, shopping, mending, and wiping their butts for them all the way through their degrees because their sister's job is to be the house slave, of course. Our parents were emotionally abusive towards my brother and me, and we did rat each other out some as kids. However, once both of us figured out what was happening because we got therapy, we now are a much better team. It amuses me to say that the team really scares my mother. Bwah ha 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 ha. Let her be scared. Exactly. If any of the brothers were not a bigot, he would be realizing that part of what he was given was basically stolen from OP, and he would be trying to pay her back to make things fair and not be like his horrible parents. Yep, they need to apologize sincerely, not that half-winded sorry if you felt that way BS that they tried to pull. Not the asshole. The missing reasons. We raised our daughter to be an uneducated, subservient baby factory. But she went behind our backs. And applied to college. Well, we just found out, after her so cruelly cutting us out of her life for several years, that she's pregnant with our first grandchild. We met with her to try to mend whatever she thinks is wrong in our relationship, and she tried to extort money from us to see our own grandchild. We just don't understand what we could possibly have done that was so horrible. /S. Nailed it. As God intended us to raise our daughter. We taught her everything she needed to know, but she disappeared to college where we couldn't help or protect her. Now we've finally been able to get back in touch, and she's extorting us. We would gladly do everything she asked, but we just don't have that kind of money. 100,000, we're salt of the earth workers, this would destroy our life savings that we put together for our old age. Yeah, they couldn't say what they were apologizing for. I would do same as OP can't say why then pay me only then we'll consider. They just want to be grandparents but they lost that chance with their actions and lack of acknowledgement of those choices. A non-apology. Cut them off for good. It sounds like you're more successful without extra weight dragging you around. This is what I was thinking. If OP decides to be a working parent, can you imagine the reaction? I'm a machinist that works closely with engineers on R&D projects for the military. I can always tell the engineers, male or female, who actually put in the work to get where they are and the ones who have been handed everything and just told they were brilliant. Fuck anyone who denigrates your accomplishments or is angry about your hard work. Engineers like you are always my favorites to work with. OMG, it's hilarious how the snowflakes stand out, isn't it? Same was true of management and engineers when I was a factory worker. The snowflakes basically had giant neon signs above their heads, it was so obvious. It absolutely is. I especially love to argue with them about how and why some idea they have won't work. The ones who are condescending I just explain why it's a bad idea or can't be done. The ones who are open and want to learn I will offer suggestions and propose different ways to make or design something so it fits the specs they want. It's really great when they argue with me and tell me since I'm just a machinist I obviously don't know what I'm talking about. Never mind 20 years experience or that I have a degree myself. Jackasses. That's hilarious. Any engineer who doesn't know to listen to machinists and techs carefully is automatically incompetent. Hello, they will totally save you huge amounts of work. Lin this thread la fluffykins with the ego. Ha ha ha, I am totally going steal Lin this thread la fluffykins. I know just the person who that fits perfectly. I will absolutely try and save as much time and work on parts as possible because if any of it goes into production I'm the one that's babysitting the machine operators and doing all the setups for them. It's self-serving but makes the engineer look good too. Replying again because engineers who don't listen to machinists, techs, manufacturing workers, etc. don't even know the definition of their own jobs. Engineering is an art of making decisions based on imperfect information. Which means the results are by definition imperfect. Which means if you aren't lapping up the info from the people who can tell you about the imperfections they're seeing, you don't even know what your job is. Ha 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 ha, I have actually said this almost verbatim. Engineering is quality guesswork based on questionable data and at times imprecise information, and it's my job to interpret all that into a real-world part. It's yours to find a better way or a way to make it a concept. My husband, a procedural tech, would like to thank you for this attitude. I forwarded both your comments to him and he was like, finally. Tell him it's because my first career was as a factory worker, doing robotics setup and troubleshooting, wondering what the hell was wrong with all engineers. He will not be surprised. It helps now when I walk into certain environments to tell people up front I have that history, and that I get that I'm now one of the you people it was perfectly logical to hate. The OP was good but you and Murder Sickle are fantastic. It is always fun to watch two perfect strangers click immediately and then annihilate the imbeciles they are forced to work with. It's reflecting a major argument in my field right now, I have to say. Quarantine working from home, I'm recovering from a near fatal case of COVID-19, means I can go ahead and yell, because the universe is not linear time invariant, that's why, a lot. Also a lot of, what is this, the cartoon laws of physics. I will always take a chance to bitch about bad engineers. Other than coffee and nicotine machinists run on righteous anger at overeducated toddlers masquerading as professional guessers. Man, this parallels to healthcare so much. I've seen MDs who think they know all and don't want to listen to suggestions from their nurses, respiratory therapists, physical therapists, etc., and the other end of the spectrum where you have the great MDs who realize that those below them know just as much, and in some cases more, and everyone can figure out the best course of action together. Especially urgent right now. I'm recovering from a near-deadly case of COVID-19. The right doctor really helped, but it was the nurses determined to treat me and make things work even when I was probably a deadly biohazard to be near that nuts and bolts got me through, finding 4 sites when dehydration was winning and so on. But it worked in SolidWorks. All tolerances +/0.0005 all? All the tolerances are exactly the same, at 5/10 THS? Every single one? Oi! Engineers. I want to throw my phone after reading your comment. I've had this exchange happen, Earl. Over-engineering is such a time waster. Especially when I see the final product and there's a clearance cut out or something like that. Like, why did it need to be concentric with +/0002 if all it is room for wire loom to go through? Fuck. I used to work with engineers. I went to lunch once with a bunch and one, who I'd never met before, told me he had an engineering degree from USC. I knew immediately that he was 1, incredibly insecure, and 2, probably useless. Who tells a complete stranger in the first 5 minutes where they graduated from and the degree they have? How boring and sad. God OP, I don't even know where to start. Get these toxic horrible people, including your brothers, out of your life. The last thing you want is them having any influence on your child. Also, just as an afterthought, you said your mom burst straight into tears while your dad seemed to think you were being unreasonable. Did your mom have a similar upbringing? Could it be that she's so used to this life that she's beaten down and doesn't know how to stand up for herself around all these men that are telling her how she should act? I think it may be worth speaking to your mom alone just to see if she says anything different when alone and allowed to think for herself. Good luck OP, hugs, not the asshole. Yeah, I agree with the part about her mom. If she's a Som, she might also need OP's help someday. I am somewhat curious whether any of OP's brothers have kids. If they do not, then I could imagine the parents were motivated to reach out because OP, in this scenario, might be their only shot at having a relationship with grandchildren. Which would be pretty ironic considering that envisioned OP's future as strictly a broodmare. Not the asshole, obviously. Why does this resonate so well? It is an extremely common story among women in engineering. I have also yet to meet a woman with a doctorate in a STEM field who didn't face major rejection or opposition from her family. I was given a full ride with living stipends and benefits for my advanced degrees, and I was told the reason was that I was good at iconoclastic thinking. I think that's how a lot of us with engineering doctorates got to where we are. We had to fight against everything we were told to be, while the boys could just coast along getting praised and not have to learn original thinking. My daughter has an ME in engineering and then went to medical school. Half her class in biomedical engineering was women. We paid for all of it. There are some of us out here supporting our gearhead daughters. I'm really looking forward to how engineering as a whole will change for the better when it becomes the common story. You're helping us get there. Hi, I'm a woman with a doctorate in entomology whose family was very supportive of her. Of course, my mom was a computer software engineer. Yeah, I finally met one. I'm glad to hear that. Also me. But very mathy, feminist family all around. I'd love for my daughter to end up in a STEM field, but if I have to alienate her to create that drive, I guess she'll just have to be happy and loved for who she is. I am a woman and I have a BS in physics and wonderful parents who I love very much. The STEM path is difficult, but, if she chooses it, she will be very grateful to have a loving parent that's rooting for her success. My aeronautical engineer father-in-law wanted my future wife to follow him into engineering. She bailed after a semester. They had to accept the shame of her graduating from a top 20 law school instead. Smile. Agree with everything being said here, But I want to add that OP should also require a real apology. Not an "I'm sorry you feel," but a true heartfelt apology that actually acknowledges what they did wrong. Also, congrats to both of you on all you've accomplished by your own merit and sheer awesomeness. Yep. Exactly. My mother is very supportive, but my in-law is very old-fashioned. Instead of being happy for us that we've figured out what makes us both happy, they have for years tried to shame their son, my husband, for being the one who doesn't have a degree and doesn't work. The fuck does it matter? He's happy, I'm happy, our kids have food/clothing, we just bought a house and I got a dog. Like, if we're happy, who freaking gives a shit? Conservative people. That's who. I can't understand how a parent cannot be proud of their child's accomplishments. My kids went in very different directions, but they're happy with their lives and I'm happy for them. Engineers rise up, smile, but seriously, OP, not the asshole, and congrats. I'm sorry you had to go through that. This answer is perfect in every way. OP, your parents are toxic and it sounds like they simply apologize to be a part of their grandchild's life, which is not in your child's best interests. If your parents truly have changed, they'd be able to tell you what exactly they were sorry for and make amends, but they're simply paying lip service and not even very well. To be honest, if you allow them back in your life, I'd be guessing they would start hinting about your becoming a stay-at-home mother, as well as trying to criticize your parenting/relationships, etc. You've done so well completely on your own, you don't need them. I think they expect the grandkid to be a boy. They don't want to miss that opportunity. Sorry. Good for you for taking care of yourself and getting the education you deserve. Wow, I hope my future child is half as smart as you. How can anyone be angry for having such a smart kid? Raging sexism. My existence proves my father's view of the world is wrong, and he lives in a lather of hate over that. If you like the video, hit that subscribe button for more content. I post every day and I'll see you next time with more stories.